Justice League Incarnate issue 1, Joshua Williamson writing with Dennis Culver, also writing, and then like 3 artists. My new rule is if there's more than 2 artists, I'm not writing them down because I can't be arsed. That's my rule.
Oh boy.
I think that's fair. I'm not saying we won't mention them, but just the ones that have more. No, this is me. This is like a low key complaint that there's too many artists, right? This is me saying no. Enough of this.
I don't think there's too many artists when they split it up. It's not like here. There's almost a reason, and I'm fine with multiple artists handled like this.
I will stick up for it a little bit. I think when it's is it Omega? But I think I'll stick up for it a little bit and how they split up the artists. I think here it's a bit less. I mean, I know there's different Earths, but to be honest, for the most part,
do you know what I think the problem is here? Because
art styles are very similar.
Yes.
Yes.
If you're going to do different art styles for different Earths, that's a fine idea, but make them distinct. They're still similar enough here that it feels like they're trying to all be roughly the same style.
They're all trying to be house style, basically.
Yeah,
and as a result, it's not. It just kind of feels like the art's subtly changing in a way that's unsatisfying, as opposed to like, oh, I feel like I'm in a different world now.
Yes.
So, yeah, it's a thing. We start with the what are they called? The Retaliators from Earth 8.
Basically the Avengers.
Yeah.
They have a character called Big Baby, which I always forget. Who's their Hulk-like, who's just a giant blue. It's like a big baby. It cracks me up.
He's actually he's got like it's almost like he's got a Sinestro head.
Yeah, not Sinestro. Hector Hammond.
Oh, okay, Hector Hammond. Yeah, sure. Yeah. I'd say the haircut's more Sinestro though, which is maybe I think why I thought of him.
For sure.
So, yeah, I did laugh actually when because I had a couple of pages in, you hear them say their version of Avengers Assemble, and it's like
Retaliators Rampage.
Yeah, I was like, that's so shit. I love it.
Well, especially like as this book goes, I can tell that Williamson was having fun with some of the Marvel things, but also you could definitely tell, like, I could feel the super DC nerds going like, yes.
Oh, sure.
This shows how superior we are.
I have no idea. Like, there's a dozen people somewhere who saw the Retaliators and was like, oh my god, the Retaliators are finally getting their time in the sun.
Well, no, I'm talking about more what happens later in the book to the Retaliators.
Oh, sure.
And they're not Thanos.
There's a lot to get into, I think.
The one that is inevitable.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Well, unfortunately, no one can stand in the way of Darkseid when he wants his crack. Okay, so we'll talk about Darkseid wanting crack later on. So we.
Not even once.
I'm just laughing at Matt.
Like Darkseid.
So this is the Earth that Machine Head's from. So this nicely ties it into the previous story. What was that?
Yeah, it feels like a proper sequel.
What was that book called?
Infinite Frontier.
Infinite Frontier. Yeah, that's the one.
The one that this whole current era is named after.
Yes. Shut up. So basically, they're like something's wrong, and Dr. Multiverse, that was the name, shows up with Machine Head's head and is like, yeah, this is what's left of him, something's not right, multiverse is in upheaval, and big like flash symbol appears in the sky, and was it Tartarus comes out, who's their Thanos.
Let me just say, this is why I love Williamson, because it would be easy to name him something closer, but of course he goes with the T name, but like Thanos being the Greek word for death or similar to it, Tartarus being the prison that held the Titans. Like again, there's definitely thought that goes into this Earth 8, Marvel ripoff. That's doesn't feel lazy, and I appreciate that.
So we cut away at that point, and we go to Avery, and it took me a split second to realize, oh yeah, wait, Williamson's writing this book, so naturally he wants to give his character a spotlight.
Did we change something in this book since it was originally announced? Because from memory, when this was announced, I thought the Flash in this book was going to be Wally.
I don't think so.
I might be misremembering.
Avery, because Avery was not a key piece, but he was hinting towards her in Infinite Frontier.
I don't have a problem with this. I just misremembered.
I don't remember. I never remember the solicits for things. Books could change their entire premise between solicit and when they came out, and I probably wouldn't notice 90% of the time. So
I'm okay because this again reminds me of John's, and I know I always say that when it comes to Williamson, but I feel like Avery is his star girl, and if he gets a chance to use Avery, especially in this big multiversal type thing where you need a Flash, it makes sense, and I'm happy for that.
I wonder if that's why I'm enjoying Williamson books less now that it goes on, because I don't think this book's terrible. Like, just to get out of the way, but I don't love it. It's fine.
But it's exactly the kind of thing that I like.
And that's how I felt a lot about more recent John's books. Obviously, there's some like the classic John stuff I still love, but I haven't tried rereading so much of that. So maybe it doesn't hold up as well.
We did a piece for the Not So New 52 last week where we ran through them all, and Pete had the same conclusion that you came to about John's.
I did not know.
Well, I was more just that, his work, with the exception of Doomsday Clock, which we all, loved and fawned over. His New 52 work onwards, while there's good stuff in there, it's that none of it compares to his big runs from before that.
And for someone like me, that when I came up on the John stuff, because of I am a continuity nerd and how you play with all of these different pieces, and that how everything from DC mythology is in play, I love that kind of storytelling. Like, some people enjoy Morrison's like super out there type stuff. This is just right in my wheelhouse. And I thoroughly enjoy it. But what he's doing here with Avery, and you can track her from her appearance in Flash, right, to now, I really appreciate that.
So Avery's dealing with was a replicant, but it quickly turns to Flashpoint Batman and Calvin Superman, who are up in the building, and they're kind of like discussing, and Flashpoint Batman's like, no, this is a terrible. Why aren't we getting one of the more experienced Flashes? He's like, no, she's perfect. Trust me, she's perfect for this. This is the Flash we need. We need a Flash for what we're doing. We should pick Avery.
I love the dynamic. It's very Batman and Superman, right? Like, it's core.
I actually, even though it's not really unknown, I kind of dig that he's introduced as Batman Earth Unknown. Because his Earth doesn't exist anymore, so it's just kind of like,
it's unknown in the context of the multiverse.
Yeah, so I like that as a little touch. So they basically convince her to come and help with almost nothing, to the point where Calvin doesn't even finish his sentence before she runs to the boom tube. And then she's like, wait, what?
A boom tube? Yeah, come on.
Wait, what's this about Barry Allen? It's like, oh yeah, Barry's kind of like, lost right now, and we need to kind of save him and stop Darkseid, and the multiverse is sick, and Darkseid's trying to tap into the power of what's beyond the multiverse, and blah 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 blah. So all this stuff, it's actually kind of a decent little recap when they explain it to her, because it's like a nice little summary of the previous book, just in case you've forgotten a lot of the details.
Or you didn't read it.
Or you didn't read it. But
right.
It sort of reestablished, okay, we got an Aquaman, we got Captain Carrot, we got Thunderer. I'm glad it told me that one, because I would never have known who that asshole was.
Yeah, he's the Thor Superman type.
Yeah. We got Dino Cop. So setting up all these characters again. Mary Marvel's there. Not Earth Zero Mary Marvel, but Mary Marvel of Thunderworld.
I should ask, Dino Cop, is that new? I don't ever remember encountering Dino Cop before.
I don't either, but
okay.
So yes, they explain the backstory, they explain what's going on to Avery, and that they've got a cosmic treadmill for her to transport them to a quantum treadmill to transport them. So they've figured out that the crack in the multiverse is currently on Earth 8, right, which we saw at the start of the issue. So they beam there, and they show up, and there's chaos, there's rubble, like, oh shit, what's happened here? Some of the retaliators are already dying or dead, and
Falcon is cradling, not Captain America.
We find out that they actually knew that Machine Head was working with a Psycho Pirate. They kind of say, no, like, your multiverse has screwed up our Earth so many times that we took a vote and we agreed that he should help. And it's like, okay, that's a little bit interesting. And then, Tartarus is just wrecking fools in the background.
He tore Big Baby in two.
Yep. And then, of course, Darkseid shows up, and we get some Darkseid versus Tartarus action, which led to the image I tweeted earlier today when I read this, because it made me laugh so much. And there's some Darkseid there's some, I am the only one, blah, blah, blah. There's some Doctor Multiverse. When she looks at like Calvin, she sees like every Superman. That seems to be part of her power set, and that's why they call it Doctor Multiverse, is because she can kind of see every version of you in the multiverse when she looks at you or something like that.
Yeah, interesting too though is the metal version of Superman, which that's different because that's not quite a multiversal Superman, right? So interesting that was thrown in there.
Yeah. But yes, the speech bubble I had to share on Twitter is because they're talking about this crack in the multiverse, and it looks like a big Flash logo that's sort of ripped in the sky, right? So I get it in context, but I got to this bubble and read it, and it just made me laugh, which was, right now we have to stop Darkseid from getting his hands on that crack. So then
Batman is a lead lieutenant in the war on drugs.
So from this point on, every time they said crack, all I could hear was crack cocaine in my head. So, that's what it is. Anyway, so Darkseid wrecks, not Thanos, snaps his neck. It's delightful. So I was having fun with the absurdity of some of this stuff.
Notice how not Thanos activated the powers of all the lantern.
Yeah,
lights.
That's true.
Looks suspiciously like Infinity Gauntlets.
It does, and that's why I can hear the DC people that hate the prevalence of the MCU going like, "Yes, see, it's superior still." And it's like, it's just a comic. Let's chill. You can like both.
I mean, I did kind of like the idea that his suit's made out of like all the lantern powers, and like that's what he's channeling here. But yeah, there's kind of a connection, to the the Infinity Gauntlet and the gems. So Darkseid pisses off because they actually are able to, like, Doctor Multiverse and Avery are able to vibrate or some shit, and it makes the crack go to another universe.
So basically,
sorry, did you say they vibrate the crack?
They vibrate the crack, yes. Well, I'm glossing over it because it's just a bunch of nonsense like Flash science that we get every so often. Like,
I know.
But I do like how
vibrate the crack made me laugh.
I do like how Williamson's building them as this, not a dynamic duo exactly, but they're the two types that needed. Is that like Avery needed to be talked up, right? Doctor Multiverse, who we find out is a lot like Darkseid, to where she's the only one that's in the multiverse. A lot like Darkseid's the only. They're solo beings. That they need these two to work in conjunction to stop whatever is going forward. And I did like that. Yeah.
So the team decided to follow Darkseid through his boom tube because he's trying to follow with the crack in the multiverse.
Following the crack.
I keep wanting to say a crack in time because there's a Ratchet and Clank game called A Crack in Time.
Good game.
Yeah, so the others back at the base are then confronted with a surprise appearance of Orion, who's like, "Yes, I'm coming after Darkseid."
And his dog that looks like the one that attacked Connor.
yeah, that was it. It was that dog.
Yes. It's the new god's fault, is it?
Yeah.
So, yes, he's like, we have to make the multiverse bleed to beat Darkseid.
What does that mean?
I'm sure we'll find out next issue.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, the army of Darkseid is following him here. So we got a big bit of combat coming to the House of Heroes, apparently, next issue, as well as, of course, whatever happens with the main team following Darkseid. I'm going to give this some credit, this issue, in that I was a little bit worried that it was going to get really messy and it was just going to be a lot of things happening. I think it did a pretty good job of always having at least a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek sense of humor between like the Marvel comparisons and just some of the weird dialogue. Like it seemed to be having fun with what it was doing, and I think it was easy to follow. It made it it reminded me enough of what it needed to remind me of the previous book that it was like, okay, I'm not lost at all. I'm following this quite well. Yeah, it was an easygoing read, I think. Plus, it was fun.
It felt like a Justice League book, whereas Infinite Frontier felt like its own thing. This does feel like a Justice League of the multiverse story.
Yeah.
So, credit.
Yeah, so I'm looking forward to spending more time with some of the characters. I wonder if some more of the B squad who are left behind get more time soon or whatever.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
See.
And the art's okay. Like we said at the start, though, it's pretty just house stylish.
Messy.
Yeah.
It's messy with the changes as well.
Yeah. I probably like the art at the end the most, whichever artist that happens to be. But...
I like the Brandon Peterson stuff, which is the Earth 8. I think it fits that. It's almost like Hitch and Ultimates, kind of.
Yeah, I think I agree with the Earth 8 stuff. The stuff at the end, which I think was Tom Derenick, was for me by far my least favorite.
I mean, it's fine. It's just heavy on the inks, and it feels different.
I think the heavy on the inks works really well for Orion. I think Orion looks quite good.
Yeah. So, but yeah, individually, I don't think like we'd be talking about the art if this was all one artist, right? I think it would have just been just fine.
I think any one of these artists would have been fine.
Because sometimes we go in depth on the art, there's a lot to talk about, but sometimes it's a throwaway line at the end of the review. It's like, oh, the art was okay.
Yeah.
Like there's not much to say.
But I almost feel like them splitting it up gave us more to talk about.
It did.
So,
it wasn't a positive talking point, though. It was a negative, mildly negative talking point.
Yeah.
So yes, drama, excitement, hurrah! Matt, what are you rating Justice League Incarnate issue 1?
7.5.
Connor?
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 6. It's fine.
I'll go with a straight 7. I think bad fun. I'm looking forward to seeing what else they do with this.